Hello, Kirk Small Group family. Welcome to the 5th week of small groups. I can't believe it's November already. I can't believe we're almost at the end of our small groups. We only have 2 more weeks left. So let's make the best out of it. You know how you can make the best out of it? For one thing, you can join in the November Service Challenge, the 7K challenge that's going on right now. And so I challenge you, small groups, to get your small group together and get out into the community and serve. Don't let November pass you by without going out into the community and serving. It's the most wonderful thing that you can do for your small groups and with your small groups. And so please, 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 let that be one of the things that you do before fall small groups is over and before November is over. So this week, in honor of Veterans Day, we have a guest speaker coming. His name is Mark W. Smith, and he's going to come and preach on Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. Now, we also have Hedda Sherpin, who was the assistant director of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, come to talk to us about Mr. Rogers at 10:30 in St. Andrews and at 12:15 in Heritage Hall with lunch. And so I invite you to those sessions, to one of those sessions, to hear Hedda talk about Mr. Rogers and what he meant to this society and what he still means and what his message is doing to our society. And so I invite you to that. So now we turn to Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. The first 5 chapters of Isaiah lay out the spiritual problems of the Israelites, right? They have forgotten and forsaken the Lord. Their worship is futile. Corruption marks their leadership. Greed has led to injustice. So that's verses 1 through 5. In midst of that, Isaiah has been called, right, in Isaiah chapter 6. Isaiah chapter 6 verse 1 describes the political crisis. The king who has brought stability to Israelites has died, King Uzziah. And so we really shouldn't be looking for chronological order in the first chapters of Isaiah, but a comprehensive picture of the situation within which Isaiah sees his vision. Today's narrative happens in the temple. Though Isaiah says, I saw the Lord, his description only really reveals the edge of God's enormous robe, as if he had quickly averted his eyes because he can't stand to see the holiness of God. The seraphs seraphs are angels, heavenly beings, sets God apart from all creation by saying, holy, holy, holy 3 times. Holy, holy, holy. I'm sure they sang that song. I mean, of course, right? So the holy, 3 holy holies really bring the completion of God's holiness forward and really underscores it. This reminds the readers of Israelites witnessing God at Mount Sinai. The Israelites retreated, insisting that Moses mediate for them, right? But Isaiah in here continues standing in God's presence. This may also remind the readers of the burning bush when God appears before Moses and tells him to go and liberate the Israelites from slavery, right? And so you remember that story from Exodus, of course. And so when you think about these stories, you are really reminded of the call stories in the Bible, right? How God calls Samuel, how God calls even Paul's conversion in the New Testament is part of that, and Abraham, and all these other stories that come to your mind. What is your favorite call story in the Bible? And do you personally have a call story that you can share with your small group? That would be an amazing thing to share, wouldn't it? Now, yeah, so I encourage you to do that. Now, some scholars associate Isaiah's concern about unclean lips with the very ancient text depicting mouth purification rituals in which the mouth symbolizes the entire body. Isaiah suggests that he is not ritually prepared to stand in God's presence. A seraph, a heavenly being, touches his mouth with the hot coal and pronounces his guilt has departed and his sin has been atoned for. It's interesting how it's his guilt that departs him. What role does guilt play in our lives? What role does guilt play in your life? Does it keep you from encountering this holy God? Does it keep you from answering God's call in your life? What happens next is really different. From other key moments of divine human interaction. Abraham in Genesis, Jacob in Genesis 46, Moses in Exodus chapter 3, and Samuel all responded, "Here I am," to God's calling them explicitly and repeatedly by name. Isaiah is not called in this story, but rather Isaiah volunteers. In only one other place in Scripture does someone answer, "Here I am," to a call that has not been extended, and that was God in Isaiah chapter 65. Isn't that interesting? So Isaiah never explicitly, if you read the text, is called, and yet he still responds saying, "Here I am." He volunteers. Isaiah's response to a call that has not been issued suggests eagerness to bring a message to people with whom he identifies. Unlike Moses with this myriad excuses, Isaiah is hardly able to contain his excitement once the hot coal touches his mouth. Like a shouting student or waving student in class saying, "Me, me, 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 me," right? Ready to answer a question. Here is the parallel of that in Isaiah, crying out, here I am, send me." Isaiah is so eager to go and tell his people God's message. So when you live in and with the Spirit of God, you get to witness the splendor and beauty of God breaking through, often in unexpected times and places, in ways that lead us to awe. In fact, new research in psychology indicates that more than any other emotion, awe leads us out of our narrow self-interest and to seek the well-being of the larger group. I hope you can live in awe of what God has done in your life. I hope you can live in awe of what God has called you to do. I hope you can live in awe of the people God has placed in your life. And I hope that awe will inspire you to go out into your community and share the good news, both with your words and deeds. And so, small group, have a wonderful time in your small groups and tell me all about it. Peace out.